Alexander Graham Bell. 4 facts about the telephone's inventor. Alexander Graham Bell was the third of 4 children born to Alexander Melville and Eliza Symonds Bell in Edinburgh, Scotland. In his early years, he began devising inventions, one of which was a device for separating wheat from its husks, which he built as one of his first ventures. However, he was more interested in sound and speech since he was the son of an elocution expert. He even collaborated with his elder brother Melville on the creation of a talking machine with the help of their father. As we all know, Bell went on to create the talking machine, which had a profound impact on how people interact with one another. His middle name, Bell, was chosen by himself. Alexander Graham Bell became Alexander Graham Bell at the age of 11 rather than Alexander Bell. Because his father and grandparents were also named Alexander, he could have grown weary of being known as Alexander by his extended family. As for the addition, Alexander Graham, a former pupil of his father's, was a source of inspiration for Bell. Alec, or Alec, was the name Bell used with his family, even though he preferred the sound of his new name. 2. In addition to being an inventor, Bell was also an excellent teacher. When he was 16, he began teaching at a boys' boarding school. His father created visible speech, a phonetic sign system. To utter any word, these symbols demonstrated the physical actions required to produce the required sound. Bell used this approach to teach deaf pupils to speak and improve their diction. Bell, too, had his own techniques. As a youngster, Bell's mother had suffered from acute deafness, and he had to find new methods to interact with her. A well-known instructor of the deaf in Boston, Alexander Graham Bell spent most of his time there throughout his career. He was employed by the Boston School for Deaf Mutes and also visited private clients. While working at the Clark Institution for Deaf Mutes and Boston University's School of Oratory, Bell was also awarded a professorship. One of his classmates, Mabel Hubbard, was married to him later in life. One of Bell's supporters was her father, Gardiner Green Hubbard. One of Bell's students was unable to speak verbally, so he came up with a way for them to communicate by spelling words. As long as he lived, Bell continued to advocate for the education of the deaf. In 1893, he met Helen Keller and helped the little deaf-mute child get a competent teacher. As part of his efforts to promote teaching the deaf, Bell formed the Association for the Promotion of Teaching Speech. 3. It was just a matter of time before Elisha Gray filed his own patent claim for the telephone. On February 14, 1876, Bell submitted a patent application for his version of the telephone. Later that day, a lawyer for Elisha Gray filed a caveat, a sort of invention announcement, for the telephone. Bell, writing to his parents in 1874, felt immense pressure to perfect his own design. On the heels of reluctant genius, Charlotte Gray writes, "It is a race to the finish line for the two of us to complete our apparatus first." A brief history of Alexander Graham Bell's inventions. The patent for the telephone was granted to Alexander Graham Bell in March 1876. Following that, he and his father-in-law, Thomas Hubbard, his helper, Thomas Watson, and Thomas Sanders formed the Bell Telephone Co. Western Union's competitor engaged more innovators, including Gray, to design their own phone system, sparking a legal battle between the two corporations. Bell fought hard for his patent on the telephone over the years in a variety of different disputes. 4. A wide range of subsequent innovations followed the telephone. Bell invented the photophone, a means of transmitting sound through light. Bell regarded it as one of his crowning achievements. Solving problems with his inventiveness was another of his talents. A metal vacuum jacket was invented by Bell after the loss of his young son in 1881. This concept impacted the 1950s iron lung apparatus for polio sufferers. To help President James Garfield recover after he was shot, Bell volunteered his services in 1881. He devised an electromagnetic gadget to determine the location of the bullet in Garfield's body. It failed, Garfield died, but it was a forerunner of the current metal detector.